Greetings, YouTube. The doctor is in. Dr. Urias Papers here, coming at you with another commentary on Dungeons and Dragons. And today on the Doctor Spell Prognosis, we are talking about the spell Find Greater Steed. I'm giving this one a B+. But first, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you have any questions or comments, please leave a question or comment. All right, so what do we think about this? Well, I'm not giving it an A because it is only usable by one class. So there's a very limited scope for this spell. It's only usable by paladins. It's a 4th level spell, and it has, it's something that's extremely useful for paladins. Really, not so much for any other class. So 4th level spell, casting time of 10 minutes, obviously. Range of 30 feet, the range really doesn't matter. Verbal and somatic component, that's good. And so you summon a spirit that assumes the form of a loyal, majestic mount appearing in an unoccupied space within range, which takes the form of a griffin, pegasus, peryton, direwolf, rhinoceros, or saber-toothed tiger. We're going to go over all these and what is the best ones. And we're also going to go over a little bit, again, about mounted combat, because it works a little bit differently in the particulars. So the creature has the statistics provided in the monster manual for the chosen form, though it is a celestial, fiend, or fae, your choice, instead of the normal creature type. Additionally, if it has an intelligence of 5 or lower, its intelligence becomes 6, and it gains the ability to understand one language of your choice that you speak, probably going to be common. You control the mount in combat. While the mount is within 1 mile of you, you can communicate with it telepathically. While mounted on it, you can make any spell you cast that targets only you also target the mount. That's really important. If you heal yourself, you heal the mount. That's a good thing. If you put bark skin on yourself, not that you're going to do that as a paladin, but there are a few things that you can do to yourself and the mount. The mount disappears temporarily when it drops to 0 hit points, or when you dismiss it as an action. Casting this spell again resummons the bonded mount with all of its hit points restored and any conditions removed. You can't have more than one mount bounded by this spell. Or Find Steed, we're going to talk about that one too, which is the junior cousin of this one. As an action, you can release a mount from its bond, causing it to disappear permanently. Whenever the mount disappears, it leaves behind any objects you are wearing or carrying. So if you put barding on it, then that will disappear. Okay, so like I said, this is the higher level version of Find Steed, which we've already gone over. And that gives you a warhorse, a pony, a camel, an elk, and a mastiff. And again, pretty much all the rest of the particulars of this spell are the same as Find Greater Steed. You just get a better mount. Some of these mounts are better than other ones, as you can tell from the thumbnail. I think that the Griffin is probably the best one, but there are particulars about each one, so let's look at that. So the first one is the Griffin. So its armor class is 12. That really sucks. It has 15, but you can increase this with barding, which is mounted armor if you don't know what that word means. 59 hit points. It has a fly of 80 feet, a speed of 30 feet on land. It's got an 18 strength, which is really good, a 16 con, which is really good. It's got dark vision. It's got a perception of +5, which that's okay. And it has advantage on perception checks, so that's pretty good. So on average, you're probably going to get around a 17 perception check for this. It has multi-attack. Now, that isn't as important as you think it might be because of the way that mounted combat works. Now, it has an intelligence score of 2, but because of Find Greater Mount, its intelligence becomes a 6. Now, the Pegasus has same armor class, as many hit points, and both of these are challenge rating 2 creatures. It has a fly of 90 feet versus 80 feet, so it's a little bit more same strength and con. I think its dex is the same too. And it starts with an intelligence of 10. So there is that. It has way better saving throws. Has a perception of 6, but it doesn't get advantage on it. It can speak a bunch of different languages, and it doesn't get multi-attack, but again, that's not as important as you think for attacks. The Periton is a challenge rating 2. Its armor class is a little bit better. It doesn't have as many hit points. Its flying speed is less. Its strength is less. Dex is less. Con is less. It has an intelligence of 9. Perception of 5. It has damage resistance. So this 33 actually goes a little bit further because it has damage resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks. It speaks common. It has a dive attack, which is not as important as you think it is when we get to mounted combat. I'm going to keep saying that over and over and over again. So if the Periton flies and dives at least 30 feet, so half of its movement, and it hits with a melee straight towards the target and then hits with a melee weapon attack. I guess that's one of these because they're considered melee weapon attacks. It does extra damage. It can do a flyby. So it does not provoke attack opportunities, but if you're on it, you can provoke attack of opportunities. And then it's got advantage on wisdom scores for sight and smell. So this is probably the third best choice. Direwolf, challenge rating 1. It's got a speed of 50, can't fly. It's got pack tactics. That's about the only thing. It has advantage. You do not get the advantage. Pretty decent strength. It's got a bite attack, but again, not as important as you think it are. Rhinoceros. You would think that this had a lot of hit points. It is a challenge rating 2, and it doesn't have as many hit points as the Griffin or the Pegasus. So 45 hit points. Its armor class is actually worse. It's got a better strength. It does extra damage on a charge. It gets 1 gore attack. And then the saber-toothed tiger, 52 hit points, about the same stats except for the intelligence. And it's got a stealth. It's got keen smell, and it's got a pounce. So if it moves 20 feet and hits with a claw attack on the same turn, the target must make a really easy strength saving throw or be knocked prone. And if it's knocked prone, then it can do a bite as a bonus action. So it kind of has a multi-attack, but it's like a half multi-attack. It's not great. It's not great. So out of these, I think the Griffin is the best one just because it's got the multi-attack, it's flight, and it's got the keen sight. The Pegasus has 1 attack. It doesn't have the keen sight, but it does have better saving throws. Just depends on what you're thinking about. The rest of the Periton, I think, is okay for evil characters. Not that PC should be playing evil characters. And the Direwolf, Rhinoceros, Saber-Tooth Tiger, they're there for flavor in case you want to be. They're cool options for flavor, in my opinion. Okay, so what do I keep talking about with this mounted combat stuff? So, a knight charging into battle on a warhorse, a wizard casting spells from the back of a griffin, blah, blah, blah. So, it's got to be at least 1 size larger than you. These are all large. Griffin is large. So, once during your move, you can mount a creature that is within 5 feet. So that's getting on top of it. Doing so costs an amount of movement equal to half your speed. If your mount's knocked prone, you can use your reaction to dismount. So controlling your mount. This is the really important one. While you're mounted, you have 2 options. You can either control the mount or allow it to act independently. Intelligence creatures such as dragons act independently. You can control a mount only if it has been trained to accept a rider. Domesticated horses, donkeys, similar creatures are assumed to have such training. The initiative of a controlled mount changes to match yours when you mount it. It moves as you direct it, and it only has 3 actions. Dash, disengage, and dodge. Strike is not one of those actions. So dash, disengage, and dodge, no attacks. A controlled mount can move and act even on the turn that you mount it. So it has a move and an action, but it only has 3 options for action. One of which is disengage. So if you're on this griffin and you're controlling it, it's a controlled mount, it can move as its move of 80 feet, and it can choose to dash, because there it is. It can choose to dash another 80 feet. It can choose to dodge, or it can choose to disengage. That is kind of the flyby type thing. An independent mount retains its place in initiative order. Bearing a rider puts no restrictions on the actions the mount can take, and it moves and acts as it wishes. Now, these creatures are technically intelligent because they've got an intelligence of 6. That's my assumption. As a dungeon master, I would give that. So they could be independent. They could be independent. The Pegasus is definitely intelligent. It's got an intelligence of 10. So they could be independent, which means they're not limited to dash, disengage, and dodge. So pairing a rider, and it puts no restrictions on the actions the mount can take, and it moves and acts as it wishes. It might flee from combat, rush to attack, and devour a badly injured foe, or otherwise act against your wishes. In either case, if the mount provokes an attack of opportunity while you're on it, the attacker can target you or the mount. So just keep this in mind, that all of these, because they can become intelligent, can act independently, but they are, you can control them in combat. So you can tell them to go attack that guy, move here, move there, do that kind of stuff. So they can take the attack action. They are just not going to go on your initiative. They get their own initiative score. So you may be holding your action until, you may be readying an action to do an attack or something when your mount is within range of something. So, and then essentially your initiative is changing to your mount's initiative, and you're just readying an action every single turn. You're not moving because you're not going to move off your mount. And there may be bonus actions that you can do on your turn. So, you just have to keep that in mind and think about that. All right, well, that's what I got for everybody today. We went over Find Greater Steed. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I will catch everybody later.